In today's video, Dog Squad, we are going to be previewing and breaking down the 2026 March Madness bracket. I'm going to be joined by Steven Edwards here. He was with us last year during the live stream of the selection show. He's also here during a Cowboys-Browns recap on a live stream last year. The audio didn't really work out as well, but this time it will be. But as we hit in this video, make sure to subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss one of my videos. We're on the road to 2K subs here on the channel. Make sure to like this video and do all that, and make sure to share as well. And also go subscribe to Ball Knowers. A link will be in the description below. Now, without further ado, let's get right into this video, Dog Squad. All right, Dog Squad, here we are with Steven Edwards. Steven, say hello.
What's up, Dog Squad?
That is exactly right. All right, so we're here. This time you can hear Steven. I know last time we tried doing a bracket breakdown, you couldn't hear him last live stream, but now you definitely can hear him because I just tested it before. So, Steven, just kind of an overall thing, kind of how are you, thinking overall of this bracket? Like, just kind of what do you think overall of it?
Well, as I watched the TV today, and in fact on CBS, I was interrupted by tornado watch, so I had to go on. I had to use March Madness Live to watch the bracket reveal.
So they had it on March Madness Live?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I was, places I was shocked, places that I felt really good about a certain pick, bits and pieces. You got really fun teams that I'm all obsessed with, and you also got some teams I'm not so obsessed with. So I can't wait to reveal that today. It's gonna be a fun time.
It will. It definitely will. Just kind of a question, kind of before we kind of, hit about every matchup and, kind of deeper rounds, and especially the Hogs. We'll talk about them. What overall do you think there could be a chance? It's been a debate, with some of these one seeds losing, and you and me were talking about, the other day, these one seeds losing in their conference tournaments. You had Belmont losing in the Missouri Valley Conference tournament. You had you had Central Arkansas falling in their championship. You had more like that. You had early exits. You had Bethune-Cookman losing in the SWAC. Of course, the SWAC is smaller, but you get the point. Do you think there's another? Do you think there's a chance of it being a little more chalk this year, or do you think we'll see more now? Maybe a Cinderella, because I know there are definitely Cinderella candidates on here that can definitely make a run.
I can tell you this. Last year we had the all one seed Final Four. I do not think we're going to have all one seeds this year.
Yeah, I definitely think that definitely is be a case. And why do you think that?
Just last year, when you look back at it, the one seeds, Florida, Auburn, Houston, Duke, insanely good teams. Teams that will go down in history as some of the best in college basketball. Florida and Duke, Cooper Flag and Con Knipple on the same college team, and then Florida, my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
It just absolutely star-studded teams. This is a top-heavy year last year. While the one seeds this year are certainly have looked dominant all year, I don't think they stack up to a Florida or a Duke from last year, or even a Houston or Auburn. Auburn, the one top overall seed out of those four teams. That just tells you how good those four teams were that year. Last year, the one seeds this year not quite as strong, and all three of them facing injury.
Oh yeah, definitely thinks that. Like you said, Duke. I think they've got definitely a dominant team, but like you said, it's probably not like last year's Duke. Arizona, it's still up for Arizona's good, but are they worthy enough to make a run? Or are they going to be an early exit, something like that? I doubt it'd be in the first round to Long Island, but. Michigan, they've got their own issues as well. How good they've been, I think, not doing so well against Purdue today. And then Florida doesn't look like the same Florida they were a couple weeks ago. They don't look like the same Florida they did last year entering the tournament because, last year they won the SEC tournament. and now they're doing that. They're still a pretty good team. So you're right, and I honestly think, dude, there are some Cinderellas as well that could definitely make a run. But let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's go ahead and jump into the first one. Whatever is the East. Got it. Got the East region here. We start off with Duke. They play in Siena. They won the MAC conference, winning the 3 seed there, and they were able to beat Merrimack in that. And then the Ohio State TCU game, that definitely does seem. TCU's had some good moments this year. They've definitely had some upsets. Oklahoma State. Me going there for next year. They lost them 3 times this year, and they easily could have probably beaten them. But Ohio State, they've gotten some upsets. Steven, what we kind of looking through? What do you think this the matchup really to watch for? Maybe upset worthy, or maybe just overall this easily should be a win. Just give me overall your regional take here.
All right, so I'm just gonna start off talking about the teams you just highlighted. You know, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sienna.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Jerry McNamara, Mac winning the Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they do not have a shot against Duke. I'll tell
No.
you that. But it's good fun team. Ohio State and TCU. TCU, they've had low lows, like losing to New Orleans early in the season, but
Mm-hmm.
high highs, like beating Florida early in the season.
I think they're more like a Missouri. If you really put, they're more like a Missouri. I think
Yes,
Missouri's had the high wins. They beat Vandy, they beat Tennessee, and they beat Florida. Then they also lost to teams like Notre Dame. So, but I see what you're saying.
yes,
Uh,
sir. But then the player to watch in that matchup is Bruce Thornton, one of the best players we haven't seen in the tournament yet. He's a senior, and he is Ohio State's all-time leading scorer. Bruce Thornton will be fun to watch in this tournament, and I think he brings the Buckeyes to the second round.
I could definitely see it. We also take a look at that next one. You take a look at St. John's. You see Northern Iowa. Now Northern Iowa, I mean, they've got definitely some big shooters, and we going against St. John's, that's always tough. And they were winning the Missouri Valley, and they were on a roll. And then you now have Kansas, who they've been up and down, and they're going against Cal Baptist, who won a thriller against Utah Valley off a missed dunk, which would have been the tie game. But Cal Baptist and Kansas, what about those two matchups you were seeing?
Well, you said I mean Northern Iowa shooters, and also I just winning 6 games in 6 days in that Missouri Valley Conference tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very impressive. But we talk about the 12 over the 5. I don't see it at all here. St. John's, one of the hottest,
Mm-hmm.
no, in my opinion, the hottest team in the country. They're led by, right now, who's playing like the best big man in the country, Zuby Ejiofor.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them lose last year early on. I think they are I think they're fuel for a long, long run in this tournament. Yeah, and then if you want to talk about Kansas and Cal Baptist, you know, we've heard the talk about Kansas all year. We've
Mm-hmm.
heard the narrative that Darren Peterson doesn't fit into the system. Darren Peterson only plays when he feels like it. Um, that's for that reason. I I have very, very strong holdbacks on Kansas, and right now I could see an upset. I could see a 13 over 4 in that game.
Oh,
Tell
for
me what
sure.
you think, Trey.
Like you said, I mean, Darian Peterson. It's gonna be, it's March, so now you're gonna see like our players ready for it, and if Peterson's over there, causing a scene, and I don't really see Bill Self, creating a team where it's like they lose themselves. But you saw them against Arkansas last year, and then you saw them in that later of the year. I know this is last year, but we're later towards March, they started kind of falling apart. If that's the case this year, and Cal Baptist, pretty tough team, they get on a roll. I mean, they could definitely we could definitely see a 13-4 upset there. In
Yes, sir.
that. Um, okay.
Yes, sir. And one last thing on that,
Yeah.
if you wanna look for a March Madness star, guard Dominique Daniels Jr. 5-10 out of Cal Baptist. Hit the game winner to win the WAC last night, averaging
Yeah,
23 a game. He's
yeah.
a scorer.
He was big last night. Uh, for the Lancers. So next up, you take a look at Louisville, South Florida. Michigan State, North Dakota State. Talk about that Louisville, South Florida game. The Hogs play Louisville. They beat them by quite a bit. Kind of let it come back, but then they were they were able to win that game. Louisville's good. They've definitely got quite a bit of talent around. Pretty good. Pretty good shooters as well. South Florida, Joseph Pinion going in South Florida this year. He's had a terrific season for the Bulls. And, he coming from Arkansas State. He just needed development, and definitely he's gotten that over at South Florida. And then you take a look at Tom Izzo, Michigan State. Very top prospects there against North Dakota State, who I saw winning the Summit League. Was big. Tell me what you think about those matchups as well.
Oh, Louisville and South Florida. Yeah, yes, we saw Louisville lose to Arkansas early in the season. Up and down team, this Louisville team. They got they got Michael Brown Jr. Pat Kelsey. He's got a good squad. He definitely does. But I have the radar for an 11/6 here. Is going off high now. It's one of the first games of the day on Thursday, and you got former Hog Joseph Pinion, who he just feels like he'd be a March Star. Don't you think he would? He feels like he'd be in a March Star.
I can see him being a Jack Golke and kind of messing up stuff. And Louisville's been inconsistent this year. Michael Brown, missing big part without him in the ACC tournament, and they've had very inconsistent issues. They play like crap against sometimes, and then they go in there and win at Miami, and win big, and beat Kentucky. So it's inconsistent in South Florida with what they've had, way they've turned around their program. It says here also Louisville's got a 77% chance to win. Those odds kind of seem a little too high for the Cardinals. Don't you think? I definitely think. What about your Michigan State, North Dakota State opinion on this one?
I'm not really gonna overthink this one. I've loved Michigan Michigan State from the start of the season. I loved watching them, even if they beat the Hogs early in the season. I liked Fears in that team. I think Izzo would not lose a first round matchup. I don't think that's much of Izzo's style, even though we've seen it before. I think they're gonna move on.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a good chance. And of course, Dog Squad. I'll do my overall bracket prediction later in the week, but we're just doing kind of a breakdown right now. All right, last one in the East region. You got UCLA, UCF, and then UConn taking on Furman. UCLA, they kind of got themselves later. They've kind of been just in the mix all year, and then they were able to have a pretty good season enough to get the 7th seed. UCF, kind of talked about them with TCU. I felt like they were kind of compared to TCU a lot. Winning big games, then also losing some games they probably shouldn't have. They've over here they went to a big one with Vanderbilt. They were able to beat Kansas. They were able to beat Texas Tech, and they were able to beat BYU. Some of their losses were also bad. And then you take a look at UConn and Furman. Look, Furman's they went to last time they were in the tournament. They beat Virginia, and the way they have winning the 6th seed, winning the SoCon, the way they kept fighting. UConn, they've had some question marks. I think that honestly, if we're looking at the 2 seeds. That UConn Furman is something I think to look at if you want to pick a 15-seed upset. But yeah, like always, give me your overall thoughts on those two.
Yeah, UCLA, UCF, like you said with TCU, also a Big 12 team with very, very high highs. UCLA is a team that had a good showing in that Big 10 tournament now.
Mm-hmm.
Early, in the middle of the season, they hit a rough patch. They had a loss to Minnesota in late February. That kind of hurt them. But
yeah.
Mick Cronin, he's a hot-headed head coach.
Yeah.
Had some run-ins with the media this season.
Yeah, he has. It's like the whatever game that was where he was yelling at the. He's like, "Are you raising my Are you raising your voice at me?" And like,
yes.
Yeah, he did that.
as journalists, I don't think either of us really appreciated that much, but
No, no,
nevertheless,
no, definitely not.
nevertheless, good. He's got a good team going into
Mm-hmm.
March here, and then UConn and Furman. I'll actually tell you, Zach Greenway, uh, who might be going to Furman next fall,
Oh, really?
uh,
Shout out to Zach
uh,
Greenway.
was seemed sure and is in this Furman upset over UConn. I don't know if I see it, but we'll see. I mean, we've seen 15s over twos. It could be.
Yeah,
Well, March, anything can happen.
yeah, UConn. We saw this year struggle to some teams they easily probably should have beaten by more or won against. And it was weird because they beat Florida. They beat Illinois, they beat Kansas, and then they're over here losing to like Marquette and Creighton. And Creighton's not that
Yep.
good this year, and they missed the tournament. They were off it a while back ago, so it is
Marquette was
Furman.
terrible this year.
Yeah, and Furman has been, they've been getting big victories in the SoCon tournament. Not really playing anyone top this year, but still a very capable team pulling off the upset. They've done a great job, obviously. All right, next, kind of moving on to let's go to the South bracket. I'm gonna, you take on Florida. And it shows here, I believe, I'm going to be right, is it Prairie View, A&M, and Lehigh? Because it's blank here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that would be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we know how good Florida is. We don't have to talk about that one. It could technically, could see somehow be a 16-1 matchup, but we're not gonna. Let's talk more about the Clemson Iowa game here. What are your overall thoughts on that one?
Oof. This is one I will say I'm not very well versed on, but I do know, Bennett Sturts, of course, is
Mm-hmm.
already made a name as a March legend.
Doing
Um,
it, Drake, yeah.
yes, sir. Uh, I mean, Iowa's got a good ball team, middle of the pack in the Big Ten all year, and then with Clemson, they made this ACC semifinals to lose to Duke. They got a really, 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 really good defense. Um, that's their calling point. It'll be interesting. I'm not quite sure though. I'm not quite sure. This one will be one I'll probably have my final pick on Thursday or Friday whenever they play. I have to check that.
Yeah. I mean, Iowa. Sturt's done big this year for the Hawkeyes. Transferring from Drake, following his head coach, who they had a great year last year. They beat Missouri in the first round and tough loss to Texas Tech. But over here playing against Clemson, who's trying to kind of remake for their loss to McNeese last year. And over here as an 8 seed, they were in the rankings for a little bit, then they kind of fell off after some bad losses. So that's one that's going to be definitely hard. And I can definitely see that one's definitely hard. All right, take a look at Vanderbilt and okay. So these two matchups are very interesting because I want to say I could see a 13 versus 12 matchup here. I could see it. Not saying it will happen, but I could see it. What are your overall thoughts over this one?
So Vandy is significantly more battle tested than McNeese, obviously.
Yeah.
Vandy is a poor defensive rebounding team.
Yeah, they definitely showed today against Arkansas.
But something Vandy does well, and also McNeese does well, is forcing turnovers. And then McNeese also, I will say McNeese has some of the highest steals and block percentages in the country. This is a very, very interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling with it, man, because early in the season I thought Vandy was prone to be upset, but they have shown something before that SEC title game that showed me, wow, this team could make some noise.
Oh, definitely.
But I'll have to. But I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure right now.
Yeah, and then you take a look at that Nebraska-Troy game. Nebraska, they've had some fraudulent times, I think, at times. They've had some big wins. They got one against Michigan State. But you take a look at Troy, who looked pretty dominant this season. When they were the 1 seed winning the Sun Belt, they stopped the Georgia Southern Cinderella run. Take a look. Do you see maybe a chance of an upset there?
No, I don't. I really like this Nebraska team this year. They're chasing their first ever win in NCAA tournament history.
Yeah.
In their history in the NCAA tournament. Troy's got a good ball club. The first seed, seems like one of the only 1 seeds to actually win their conference tournament.
Feels like it
Uh,
next. Yeah.
but Troy they got a good team, but I look at Nebraska and I see a good team in Fred Hoiberg's squad. Good all around team. The defensive team with Peyton Stanford and Rick Mass. So uh, we'll just have to see. Yeah.
We will definitely have to see that. All right. Take a look now. Taking a look at the 6, 11, and 3 and 14. Take a look at North Carolina taking on VCU. VCU just won today, beating Dayton in the A10 championship. And North Carolina looked like they were on a roll after beating Duke. Then they seemed to disappear. And Caleb Wilson, getting back, being hurt, and then getting hurt more and all that. That did hurt the Tar Heels, and so that's an interesting to see. With how can they play without them in the tournament? Then you take a look at Illinois and Penn. Penn, winning off the buzzer beater today, or winning, to tie the ball game. TJ
Yes.
Power is just a phenomenal player for the Quakers, and then Illinois got one, of the grittiest teams in the league. You take a look. How do you balance those matchups out?
So North Carolina, before the Caleb Wilson injury, was one of my favorite teams in the country. Such a shame, and he's such a
Mm-hmm.
good player that's going to go very, very high in the draft. They still have good players and like Henry Visar, but right now, I'm not so sure.
Mm-hmm.
VCU winning their conference tournament,
Yeah.
upset upset radar is going off pretty high here,
Yeah.
and then
Exactly.
Illinois and Penn. Lot to like in Fran McCaffrey's squad with TJ Power, the highest scoring game in Ivy League tournament history, but at Illinois with a lot of foreign players, and then obviously Keaton Wagler.
Mm-hmm.
Good team. I like watching them. So
Yeah.
fun matchup.
Fran McCaffrey, I think this is this fifth team to take to a tournament. I believe that's what they were saying
Yes, it is.
earlier. He had his struggles at Iowa, but he also has some good years. He had that year when with the 5 seed, set disappointing ending with lost to Richmond, but won the Big Ten title that year. So he had some good moments there. Now he's taken off with Penn and have to go up against a tough Illinois team who we've seen rise this year. All right. Take a look at the final one of the South. Take a look at St. Mary's, A&M, and then you take a look at Houston and Idaho. St. Mary's, they were, kind of just there for a little bit. Then they upset, or maybe, well, I don't know if technically an upset, but they did beat Gonzaga, got in the rankings. They've been a 7 seed. They've had some struggle, getting to the second weekend. It's been a while. A&M, Buckyball, they've had an efficient offense this year under Bucky McMillan, first year out of Samford. He knows his way in tournaments. They had a tough game against Kansas a couple years ago. Now he's with A&M. And, that's going to be a tough matchup. You take a look at Houston, Kelvin Sampson leading the Cougars once again to a top 2 seed, making the national championship, trying to maybe make a run. And Idaho winning Starch Madness as a 7 seed, knocking off Montana State earlier, and then eventually rising their way, beating 2, 3, and 4 seeding in the Big Sky, and this is their first time in 36 years. They're big on defensive rebounds, and I don't know if that'll be a problem. It probably won't be a problem to Houston, but if there's a weakness, there's a strength for Idaho, and the way their grit is, and the way they can get points, that'd be it. But you take a look through these last matchups of the South. What do you think?
St. Mary's and A&M, really, really fun. Buckyball, as you said, Buckyball is going to be difficult for the St. Mary's team, but St. Mary's also always has a high tempo, get threes up offense. You talk about Paulius Morauskas, Josh Dent, Mikey Lewis, and then the big Andrew McKeever. I really like St. Mary's this year, but obviously Rashawn Agee reminds me of a Quincy Acey type player for Bucky McMillan there. So it will be very, very interesting matchup that I'll go back and forth on. And then Houston and Idaho. Houston, wow.
Yeah.
Idaho is a good team. Idaho is a very good team, but an intriguing team. But Houston is a team that I could really see representing this quadrant in the Final Four. You know, Kelvin Sampson got so close last year
Yeah.
and brought a good team.
Yeah, and Houston and Florida could be going at it in the Elite Eight with a rematch from last year's championship. So that'll be pretty interesting to see.
Yes, yes, sir. And I'll I don't know if you saw this yet, Trey, but if they were to do that, the Elite Eight, the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight will be in Houston, Texas for that region.
Really?
Yes.
So, wow. I didn't honestly think, well, Missouri is in St. Louis. Huh. That is
That is a
interesting.
very, very, very big advantage for those Cougars. So,
That's something to, okay, so if you're filling out your bracket, or when you do, that's something to watch for. I mean, that's a factor. I'm not saying you should now pick Houston, but that is definitely a factor on this one. All right, we take a look at the west side now. You take a look at Arizona, Long Island. You know, we don't have to talk about that. I know that's a 116 matchup. You know, Arizona known, they've been potentially before known to lose to lower seeds. Long Island, you know, winning the NEC, making it for the first time since 2018 when they were called a different, I think the Long Island of Chicago, something like that. They were called something different. But, you know, the Arizona is very talented. Well, obviously, we could talk all day about, you know, these one seeds. But you take a look at also this Villanova-Utah State game. You know, Utah State winning the Missouri Valley not Missouri Valley, Mountain West Conference. Villanova, they were kind of just there. Villanova, you forget. It feels like you sometimes forget that they used to be a dominant team, and then now there's just an 8 seed. You know how much that proves how much Jay Wright was such an impact on the Wildcats. What do you see most in that Villanova-Utah State matchup?
well, Villanova, moving on from the Kyle Neptune era,
Oh yeah.
uh, they saw a pretty successful season this year. Never really could beat the big opponent, and then obviously a terrible loss in the Big East tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Utah State is a very, very intriguing team from the Mountain West. We historically don't see much success in the tournament from the Mountain West, but Utah State's got they got Mason Falslove and MJ Collins, so they got a good squad winning that Mountain West tournament. Villanova teetering along the season. I don't know. I don't know about these Wildcats now.
Yeah, that's one matchup that I think definitely these are two teams that I don't really see having a chance really against Arizona. Assuming they beat Long Island, and it doesn't seem as these teams don't it doesn't seem like to be connecting to some of these other 8-9 matchups like we saw with Ohio State, TCU, and all that. But now we move on to the 5 seed, 12 seed, 4 seed, 13, and featuring the Razorbacks. The 5 seed, Wisconsin Badgers. A great team they've been this year. They were like coming back with big wins. They got in the rankings, fell off the rankings, and now they're going against a High Point team that can definitely shoot the ball so well. They're high powered off. They got a great offensive team that can ruin Wisconsin, who has had some shorter tournaments than they wanted. Past couple years they haven't made the second weekend. They've had trouble in the past before. And now you take a look at Arkansas and Hawaii. Arkansas win the SEC championship. I mean, you take Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas. They've been phenomenal. Trayvon Brazile, and you're going against a Hawaii team that has their their greatness. The Rainbow Warriors has just been big for them this year. Winning the Big West Conference, beating UC Irvine, top seed. Isaac Johnson, he's been phenomenal for them this year. So that's someone that Arkansas's got to watch on their defensive side. Take a look. What do you think about these two matchups?
You want to talk about the upset radar on a 12 over 5? High Point is a very, very, very good team. But obviously Wisconsin, who I feel has been inconsistent this year, wildly inconsistent. their calling card is their two guards, John Blackwell, and Nick Boyd. Uh, if Wisconsin wins this game, it's because those two perform. But High Point, 30 wins on the season, can shoot that ball like all get out. I don't know. I really don't know. And then obviously Arkansas, Trey, we can talk for hours about Arkansas. Everyone knows that.
Especially about Darius Acuff, the way he has been
If
just phenomenal.
if I
Absolutely.
can if I can put it to if I can simple it as best as I can, in my opinion, Arkansas not only always going to have the best guard in the game, whichever game they play. After watching this SEC tournament, after watching this whole season, I truly think Arkansas is going to have the most dangerous offensive player and the best player every game they play this tournament. That's what I think. I'm sticking to that, and I'm confident. I am confident in the Hogs more than I've ever been.
Yeah, honestly, it seems like it because it's like every time you have doubts about them, you have someone like Acuff or Brazil or Malik, Billy, they just come when you need them the most. The whole team doesn't seem, to just be like get rolled over when we need to see, hey, can you finish this game for us? Can you win? Because it's going to be tough in March, and we saw what they were able to do against tough teams like Duke and Michigan. We remember, I mean not Michigan, Michigan State and Houston. Those are teams that we came close to winning, and they were tough environments or tough neutral. And we had to go to Lansing and play them, and we beat Texas Tech. We've seen what they can do, and the way this offense is. And I know the defense isn't the most consistent. I know they've had their own issues too. But they are definitely, when they get the steals and they get on a roll and they get in transition offense and then they start those alley oops, you're on a roll, and Arkansas is causing trouble for the other team. And I could definitely see that this Thursday against Hawaii. Also, the times came out. Arkansas will play against Hawaii at 3:25 p.m., so it'll be after school.
Is that what you got?
Yeah, I just found that out on NCAA.com. If I look again, yep, 3:25 CDT Thursday, Arkansas, Hawaii. So
that is good to see
that's
because earlier I saw it was gonna be 1 p.m. our time on Thursday, and
well,
that's just that would have been bad.
yeah. I mean, that's what the NCAA says. But Wisconsin and High Point play at 12:50, so maybe that's why you saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably
It
why.
it officially says 3:25 p.m. on Thursday on TBS. We are 15.5 point favorites against, and then Wisconsin High Point. That High Point Wisconsin game, We're gonna definitely need to keep an eye on there and then, of course. All right, move down. We got BYU taking on who's the 11 seed for that game? Texas NC State. Is that right?
Yes,
And then
sir.
Gonzaga, Kennesaw State. BYU, AJ DeBonsta, he's been phenomenal this year. He's up in the Naismith Trophy candidates. He's been big for BYU. They were on a kind of a downfall. Then BYU looked like they may have been a lower seed, but then they were able to rise back up, especially getting to the quarterfinals in the Big 12 tournament. And then you have Texas, who Steve Miller's done a great job. I think has done what he could. I think with Texas, he's gone through adversity. He's beaten tough teams with the Longhorns this year. Tremont Markin on them, and NC State. Will Wade, his first year. I thought they'd honestly have a better year, but it is his first year, especially in the ACC, and it's probably at a much better year than last year. And then you take a look at Gonzaga. Tyrone Grant Foster, he's been phenomenal for the Bulldogs. Transfer from Grand Canyon, and he's been one of their star players. Mark Few, knows how to win in tournament games. And then you also have Kennesaw State. They were the Cinderella in the Conference USA tournament, knocking off LA Tech. They're the 14th seed, and they're going to have to go against a tough Gonzaga team. What are your thoughts about those matchups?
Well, you talk about the first four, and NC State, which struggled down the stretch, and then Texas. Sean Miller's got a good team. Dalen Swain and Tremont Mark and Kendall Weaver. But whoever plays, yeah, whoever has to play AJ DeBonsa in a matchup, it's going to be pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be really rough for you. That's like you said, when a Naismith finalist is going to be a top 3 pick at least in the NBA draft. AJ DeBonsa, what there's anything we have said that has already been said about AJ DeBonsa. He's generational, and it's going to be very, very tough. And for Gonzaga and Kennesaw State, fun matchup. Fun matchup. Gonzaga, an important thing to note for them if they potentially face BYU in the round of 32, they are not expecting to bring. Excuse me, hold on. They are not expected to bring Braden Huff back until if they make the second weekend. So
Okay.
that could end up creating some interesting results, and we might not see Gonzaga make it past the second weekend
Yeah,
or make it past the weekend.
especially if you're having to go up against BYU or, coaches that can make how to make runs like Sean Miller and Will Wade, or at least we've seen them have good it be in tournaments before with tournament experience. So that's gonna be tough with Gonzaga if they don't have. But we'll see how the Zags. They had bad loss to Portland earlier in the year, and but they've had also some key wins, and winning the West Coast Conference. And all right, so now we take a look at Miami, Missouri, Purdue, and Queens. Steven here going to Missouri next year
Oh yeah.
for college. But he is a loyal Arkansas fan still. I know that we are rivals with Missouri. I don't personally hate Missouri. That was my second option. I don't really personally hate them. I haven't really liked them that much, but I don't really personally hate them. Not as much like LSU, Ole Miss, A&M, all them. And then we take Miami, Florida. They were in the rankings. I think they've done a great job this year. Missouri, Mark Mitchell, a big man. Getting in the SEC. I think it was second team. I think it was all team. I think this
Yes.
year. Purdue. Man, what a year! What a run they had in the Big 10 tournament. Winning against Michigan today. Phenomenal job from the Boilermakers, especially 7 seed. They had a lot of hate going on. Braden Smith has been phenomenal this year for the Boilermakers. And Queens, not really liking them beating Central Arkansas, but good for them because I think they're merging with Elon next year. I think apparently that's what I heard.
Okay.
Winning the A-Sun, they won't be a team as much longer. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll have to look. But they Queens winning that, and we've seen Purdue have trouble, getting past getting the second week before they did last year. But kind of take a look at those matchups. What are you seeing out of them?
Well, I did not hear about that Elon and Queens merger. That kind of threw me
Yeah,
for a
let me while you're talking, let me look and see if that's true.
Okay. Mark, when you talk about Mizzou, Mark Mitchell, just a dominant player in the SEC. He played at Duke obviously before then. He's a fantastic player. Jaden Stone, Anthony Robinson, Theo Barrett, Sean Phillips at the center, and Trent Pierce as well. They also have former Arkansas Gatorade Player of the Year and Anner Boateng on that roster. I love Mizzou as a team. Obviously the Hogs beat them twice, but
Yeah.
uh, they're a good team in the SEC who have been inconsistent, but still there's a lot to like when you look at Mizzou, and I think they'll make it. I think they have a chance. They have a shot at making a run here. We'll have to see.
They're a dangerous team. Also, I did look that they're merging. I think something to do with educational impact. I don't know if the school's fully merging or not, but they are merging in some way with Elon. But anyways, what are your thoughts? Speaking of Queens, what's your thought against them against Purdue?
Well, I don't really know if they have a very good shot
Yeah,
against
I understand.
Purdue. Purdue's one of the hottest teams, winning that Big Ten tournament, and Purdue's also gotta be one of the most experienced teams. They've got Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Trey Kaufman Wren, all players on the national title game team from 2 years ago with Sac Duty.
Mm-hmm.
They've stormed the course over these couple of years, and really, 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 I got them marked as a team that could make a deep run in this tournament.
They definitely can be. Now we take a look at the last one. Midwest. You see here Michigan gonna go up against Prairie. No, sorry, one wrong. UMBC and Howard. UMBC last time we saw them in, they were a 16 seed, upset Virginia. So I don't know if that'll happen this time. They're playing Howard, who's from the MEAC, and you know how those conferences can go. And then you take a look at Georgia and St. Louis. And St. Louis, they've been on something this year. Sadly, unfortunately, with a heartbreaking loss in the A-10 semifinals yesterday. But they're going up against a Georgia team. Mike White, keeping that Bulldogs team relevant after kind of it seemed like they would be going downhill after a couple bad losses and eventually falling out of the rankings, and that's always that was always tough. Sorry, St. Louis, they're finally in it. They haven't been in it in a while. So what are your overall thoughts? Going against a Georgia team that's going to that's been kind of hot but then wasn't, that has a better year than last year. What are your main thoughts on this?
Georgia, very, very fun team to watch in the SEC. Blue Kane looks like the kid from Deliverance. If you don't know it, I mean, look that up. It's funny. Jeremiah Wilkinson and Somto Searle, very, very good team. They beat Arkansas.
They did.
But St. Louis, they've got Robbie Avila, Reem
he's-
Abdul-Jabbar. His first time in this tournament. That's going to be a very, very attractive pick to people doing research. It's going to be a fun matchup. I'm not quite sure yet.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think we could. No, you're fine. I definitely think we could see. And it'll be fun. To watch. See if Georgia can finally. It's been a while since I think I've seen them in the second round. It's so funny with them and Ole Miss. Ole Miss finally did it last year. Great football teams, but then over in basketball, they can make the tournament, but will we ever see them do it and make it a second round? And we saw Ole Miss finally do that last year after years of not really doing anything. Georgia's finally starting to get that with Mike White back in coaching. All right, take a look at 5 seed Texas Tech, 12 seed Akron, 4 seed Alabama, 13 seed Hofstra, and Texas Tech, JT Toppin being out for the whole season, but they've been able to manage picking up big wins, especially against Iowa State. Then they get thumped against Iowa State in the Big 12 tournament. That hurt them as well. And Akron, coming back over Toledo last time or yesterday in the MAC championship game. And they're coming off that win. That was pretty impressive from the Zips. They're back in the tournament for about, I think, the third straight year. Miami, Ohio, which we'll talk about them in just a minute. The way they, that we wanted to see maybe a Miami, Ohio, Akron rematch. We didn't get that. Losing in the first round didn't help. Tavari Johnson, big one for the Zips. They've got big players down low that Texas Tech's gonna have to get through, and also you take a look at Alabama. Philon has been phenomenal, getting SEC first team. It was at first, I believe it was first team, right?
For Philon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then against Hofstra, who was getting good key win. Some losses that were important. Barely losing to some Power 4 teams that were they winning the CAA conference as a 3 seed. They've definitely got some great players that can make some noise against the Tide, who struggle to play defense. So Hofstra's got some offensive weapons and that can shoot the ball. Cruz Davis has been phenomenal for Hofstra this year. Yeah, if Alabama can't defend, it's going to be a long time. I could definitely maybe see a 13-4 seed upset there. But I don't know with Nate Oates being, a veteran, more experienced now. You see feel like he's a veteran because the amount of tournament games they've been in now, only being Alabama for a few years. What do you see out of these matchups?
Um, I'll tell you what I see. I see an Akron team that has a really good chance at defeating Texas Tech. And when you look at Tech, I mean, it's like UNC. I love UNC, and I love Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were going to be a Final Four team, and JT Toppin was looking like he was front runner for National Player of the Year,
Yeah.
and then he was down with an ACL tear. Devastating, absolutely devastating. Christian Anderson weathering the storm quite well, I will say, leading them to 3 straight wins after that. But I feel like they've teetered since, and it's going to be scary for them in this first round. And if they make it to the second round, it's going to be scary for them in the second round because you got Alabama, the best offense in the country. Seems like we say that every year about the Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
They shooters upon shooters upon shooters upon scores upon scores upon scores. Hofstra, you're happy for them that they've made the tournament this year. Yeah, obviously they won their conference tournament in 2020, but were robbed of the chance
For the
to
COVID.
play
Yeah.
in the NCAA tournament. They make it back, but Bama looks like the hottest team in out of these four, and I don't know.
Yeah, and, you know, we always say about their offense being big and their defense not being, but remember they had the same situation 2 years ago and they made the Final Four. So, you know, Hofstra's got some great shooters, great offensive players, and if Alabama doesn't defend well, that could be a long game, like I mentioned. But it is kind of harder to not pick Alabama in this one. But I'd watch out for the 4-13 matchup, and you know maybe something in my mind will tell them to pick them later in the year, later in the week. All right, moving on. We got Tennessee playing either Miami of Ohio and SMU. Now, the Miami of Ohio was the big bubble story of the year. They went 31-1. They were a big team this year in the MAC, going 31-0, and then just falling in the MAC first round. And people were like, should they be still in? I was fine with it. You know, they're 31-1. Might as well be in because you know why you have that good of a record. You should definitely be in. They should have been locked after going 31-0, playing an SMU team who snuck in. It seemed like they almost weren't going to make it. They had some good start. They had good times at the start. They had a little bit more of an off year, but SMU, they had a big start in the rankings, going to Duke and playing competitive against them. Then they started falling with some bad losses. And they're going against a Tennessee team. Nate Ament has been phenomenal for the Vols this year. Big SEC player. And that's going to be something that both those teams are going to have to watch out for. Then you go up against Virginia. Virginia taking on Wright State. Virginia with a big fight against Duke, a much better performance against them than we saw the first time against Duke, where they lost sadly in the ACC championship yesterday. D. Ritter has been phenomenal for the Cavaliers this year. And, Wright State went in the Horizon League as a 1 seed. They were one of those 1 seeds to survive. They've got some upset material in them. So what are you expecting to see out of those matchups?
Well, I look at Tennessee, and then we can talk about that. We can talk about Tennessee, Nate Ahmed, Jacoby Gillespie. They're a good team, but
Mm-hmm.
I really want to talk about this first four matchup here. We won. Trey, we won. We don't have to see an Auburn team 2 games above 500 play
Yeah,
in this NCAA tournament.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
I know, and especially against a 31-1 team. I mean, that they made the right. I think I'm glad they made the right decision there.
Yes, and I'm intrigued by the 31-1 matchup against SMU. Boopy Miller and give a shout out to Corey Washington, who was a player on if you remember on the 2022 North Little Rock fighting Wildcats with Nick Smith Jr. and Kellel Ware, a good player on that team, and that legendary team that won the state title that year. SMU and in Miami will be an interesting first four matchup to see who gets the right to play University of Tennessee and then Virginia Ritter. Uh, good, good team there. Uh, took Duke to the wire, an injured Duke at that, I will say. but took him to the wire. Give him credit in the ACC championship game, playing a dangerous team out of the Horizon, Wright State. We'll see. And here's a fun fact: do you know this? Wright State has the same fight song as our Arkansas Razorbacks.
Do they now? Like the same rhythm?
They do, yes.
Really? I think maybe I maybe have known that. So that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Okay. Do you want me to move on to the next one now?
Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't know you had any more to talk about that. Okay, so we got Kentucky, Santa Clara, Iowa State, Tennessee State. Last two of this bracket. Kentucky with Mark Pope leading his second year. A little bit more down year. They've had injuries going up against the Santa Clara team who was, with some big wins. Finally we got to see in the West Coast Conference Championship something that wasn't St. Mary's and Gonzaga. Santa Clara beating St. Mary's. They're on a hot stretch right now, getting the 10 seed in this tournament, playing against 7 seed. Otega Owe has been, he, I think, didn't exceed expectations I think he kind of fell, but, Kentucky had their own problems this year. Still a 7 seed. And that will be a great matchup against Santa Clara. And then, Iowa State taking on Tennessee State. Tennessee State, for the first time since the 90s, making the NCAA tournament, winning the Ohio Valley Conference as the 1 seed. And they really laid the hammer on Morehead State in that game. So I know that's, a smaller school, but, they can come out getting ready to fight against Iowa State, who hasn't really met their expectations, I feel like, as they usually should have. Coming in the past 2 tournaments. TJ's done a great job with the Cyclones team. And they've gotten some big wins, a big stretch in the Big 12 tournament, almost beating Arizona in the semifinals, but wasn't enough, and now they're a 2 seed. They're up against Tennessee State. What are you seeing out of these last 2 matchups of the bracket?
You want to talk about a roller coaster season? Kentucky, wow.
Yeah.
Really, really good wins, beating the SEC champions on the road. But also some pretty low lows. You got Otega Owe, of course, Denzel Aberdeen, and Colin Chandler. Could be an interesting team, but I gotta tell you, I am in love with the Santa Clara team. They obviously, like you said, disrupted a trend in the West Coast Conference in the final year of Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference.
That is true.
But they got a lot of fun players. First time making the tournament since the Steve Nash days. They've got Alan Graves, Elijah Mahi, and someone who really stepped up in that St. Mary's game, Sash Gavalyugov. So I'm excited to see what they can do. I really think they got a high potential, high ceiling in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And Iowa State, Taman Lipsey, Joshua Jefferson, good team. Another player name escapes me. Barely lost to Arizona on the. Oh yeah. Milan Momcilovic. I don't know why that name escaped me, but it did. He is a lacer from 3, 50%. He reminds me of a Dirk kind of player. But Momcilovic is very good, but they lose off of Jaden Bradley, game winner at the buzzer.
That was phenomenal.
Tennessee State, interesting team out of the Ohio Valley Conference. I actually saw them in person this season.
Was that the game that they played Little Rock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Good team.
Mm-hmm.
Game went down to the wire in that game, but very good team to represent the Ohio Valley Conference. Could be an interesting game, really.
Yeah, it could. I could definitely see them giving a fight. They've been firing all cylinders. They didn't, in the Ohio Valley Conference tournament, they didn't seem to give a crap about the other team. They were, bulldozing their way through. So, it seemed to, they're going to give Iowa State a test, but I think the way they've played this year, Iowa State, manhandling some other teams. They've always been a great team since TJ coming coaching them since that 11 seed year, making the Sweet 16 with Iowa State back in 22. But those will be matchups to watch. Chandler is a clutch player for Kentucky. If you're talking about close situations, you're going up against Santa Clara. Watch out for that. That's going to be definitely something to say for there. Well, Dog Squad, I think that's going to be it. You know, we kind of went over, I think, our old matchups. We did this last year. And if you're, Steven, if you're going to go ahead and pick any champion, with just looking, I mean, you don't have to go by analyzing. I mean, you don't have to go by fully analyzing right now. Just by just looking, who do you think you would have? Without making any assumptions, what like you're going to do later this like throughout the week.
Could I give a potential Final Four as well?
You can do that. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. I think out of the East, it'll be right now, just freshly looking at this, St. John's out of the
You
East.
like St. John's?
Yes, yes, sir, I do.
Hey, Rick
Out
Pitino's
of
got to
the,
do something eventually with the Johnnies, I think. I mean, last year was, I think, that was bad against,
yeah,
losing it for a second round. Loved it for us, but against Arkansas. But
yeah.
I think he's going to have a good chance, especially with the kind of where he is.
Heavily underseeded too.
Oh yeah.
Out of the South, um, I'll say I really like Houston out of the South.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the West, it's tough. Call me biased, but I don't know. Maybe some hog fever. Maybe some ACA fever.
I can see it, especially if Arizona. I was telling this earlier, and people were saying we have such a tough region. We were talking about this Wisconsin High Point game earlier. Wisconsin's been known to drop games earlier in March. Arizona, the same thing. I don't think they'll do it here, but Arkansas has been known. They've done it twice. They've actually, well, if you want to count top two seeds, they've done it 3 times since 2021. They have knocked off a top 2 seed 3 times. And if they can do it to Arizona too, I have a feeling they definitely can do it there. And going up against someone like Purdue, maybe Gonzaga, BYU, maybe a little DeBonsta versus Acuff, that'd be probably pretty cinema. But I could definitely see where you're going with Arkansas there. All right, who do you have for the Midwest?
I think if you wanna see a number 1 seed in there, I think your best shot is gonna be from the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
no, that's fine. I was just saying I think that's definitely something I would probably go with too. And who do you think you have in the championship and then the champion there?
Well, I think we're probably gonna see a Michigan and Houston national title game,
And
and from
then
there, I think I have the Cougars winning the national championship, avenging last season's loss and giving Kelvin Sampson his first national title.
yeah, he really is like the Dave Van Horn, I really feel like, of college basketball. Seems like he should already have one, but somehow doesn't. I think the amount of times, the amount he's coached. But of course, Stephen, as you examine, the bracket later throughout the week, we'll probably have different champs eventually. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because Houston, but you might keep Houston. Last year I had Florida right away on Sunday. I didn't change it the rest of the week, and they ended up winning. So, look, for me, honestly, I do like you saying St. John's. I think I'm going to take the 1 seed without, I'm going to have to go through the matchups and all that. But right now, I'm probably going to have Duke out of the East. I probably, out of this one, I don't know if we're going to have a Florida one. I think I can see Houston 2 maybe making it. Out of this one, I maybe can also see, I probably could see Michigan 2. And then probably out of this one, probably it's a little chalky for me right now, but this is really without examining. I'm going to kind of get a full one. If I'm just going to get my national champion, it's probably going to be right now, probably Michigan right now. But that is without me examining. And so I'm probably going to have a much different Final Four come Thursday whenever the brackets start. But, Steven, I'm very excited for this for these tournaments to start. It's been awesome, watching conference tournaments, watching college basketball all year. I remember when it just seemed like not too long ago, you and me were sitting in comp app on the day of the first exam and kind of seeing the day of the first basketball Monday, and we were kind of looking through the schedule that day, and now we're finally here at March Madness, so it's very exciting.
Yes, sir. We could see all the way back from the beginning of the season, and it's just been a wild, wild ride, and I've loved to be a part of it the whole way
Yes,
through.
and honestly, it was it felt awesome. Arkansas finally winning the SEC title after getting falling short years with especially Musselman. Always leading us to great March Madnesses, but it felt like every time we would always come short. Always winning a game then losing, like you and me talked about. We had that rhythm going on where we were winning a game then losing. I thought it would keep up with Calipari because I felt like it was just an Arkansas thing, and they've just been phenomenal. I could definitely see them making a run to the Final Four with that offense and that talent. So I'm very excited for this March Madness, and glad they're not playing during school because I didn't want to have to worry about it during school.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, well, Steven, you got anything else want to point out, or?
Not for me, no.
All right, well, we'll Dog Squad, I'll make my bracket predictions later this week, and I'll get that to y'all. I'll get this video out tonight. Steven, thank you so much for joining, and hopefully we'll definitely have you on another video sooner or later. Maybe we can, if there's anything else, maybe March Madness preview, the Sweet 16. We can also have, when NFL starts getting up, we'll talk about Dallas and the NFL season, all that. But we'll have more to come. Thank you so much for watching Dog Squad. Make sure to subscribe, like, and go subscribe to Ball Knowers. That's Steven's channel. Talks about the NBA and all that. So, yeah, definitely go subscribe.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely go. I need to probably add that to my descriptions list now that you've created that channel. It's been up for a little bit. I need to probably add that to all my description links with all the other YouTube channels. But thanks so much for watching Dog Squad. You, Stevie, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
All right, I'll see you, Dog Squad. Peace.